This is Phalaenopsis gigantea, an orchid species endemic to the island of Borneo. As the name suggests, it is gigantic. In fact, it is the biggest known Phalaenopsis species. This species has become one of my favorite Phalaenopsis. Not only are the flowers absolutely striking, like any polychilus has, but the foliage and overall look of the orchid is absolutely wild. In my experience, this orchid has the most leaning tendency of all Phalaenopsis. While it's absolutely normal for Phalaenopsis orchids to lean to one side, generally the side that receives most light, such as a window, the gigantea takes it to a whole new level. No matter if mounted or potted, it will lean very steeply towards the light source, and even if the light source comes from above, it will still find a place, or rather a side, to lean. I currently grow it under artificial light, with lights only from above, and as you can see, it is still leaning quite steeply. This makes it a little bit harder to display. Since the leaves will grow so large, it needs to be high on a pedestal or hanging somewhere. That is, if you're not growing it already on a mount or on a tree, why not? Maybe you have the good climate. So from a display point of view, it can pose a few difficulties in a home, but I do not believe it is impossible, because in essence, it is a Phalaenopsis, it's vigorous and will manage, and it absolutely does not mind home conditions. Yes, you can grow this in a home without humidifiers or any automated systems like in a greenhouse. Apart from the beautiful shape and the size of the leaves, you might have noticed the coloration. This is normal and absolutely natural. The gigantea has a bluish-greenish type of color. Moreover, it is glaucous, which means it has a sheen on top of the leaves that gives it a misty appearance. This actually protects it from getting wet. I would advise you not to try and remove this sheen or try to polish the leaves in any way, and rubbing that sheen will just make the leaves look a lot duller, trust me. And it will remove that layer of protection against water, which is especially useful in cultivation. It blooms from in between the leaves like any other Phalaenopsis on a very long and quite thick flower spike. Unlike other Phalaenopsis, the flower spike tends to grow downwards. Initially, the flower spike started to grow inside the pot. I caught it early, I removed it from the medium and directed it over the edge of the pot. So if you own this orchid, keep an eye out for flower spikes. They can actually grow inside the pot. It is described as a sequential bloomer, meaning it can rebloom from the very same flower spike for quite a number of times, maybe even a few years. So do not cut the flower spike after it's done blooming. Even if it looks a little bit strange, it might actually rebloom again. The flowers are also thick and glossy like many other polychilus have. They are buttery white and have a dotted pattern that can vary a little bit from maroon to a little bit more brighter dark red. Unlike other Phalaenopsis, which tend to display their blooms on each side, let's say of the flower spike, creating a nice shingling effect, I observed that the gigantea opens its flowers no matter the direction, pretty much on all sides of the flower spike, creating a wonderful 3D effect. When it's in bud, honestly, it looks like grapes. The party trick of the flowers is that they are fragrant. I see the scent is described as citrusy, and I will have to agree to some extent. It is indeed sour, lemony, but it has a very sharp, slightly dusty underlayer. It's not bad by any means. I actually really like it. It reminds me of scented erasers from childhood. Did anybody have those? It feels like a very artificial fragrance, but it's absolutely beautiful. But it does have a harshness to it. It is quite strong. I could feel it in the plant room, even though this orchid sits in a rootstock cabinet with the doors closed. The way the flowers look, coupled with the scent, make it magical to me. I cannot wait for future reblooms. Mine is a very young plant at this point. She will grow very tall, and the more mature it is, the more flowers it will produce. Now, care-wise, if you want a very in-depth tutorial, check the description. I will link you to it down below. It takes the very same care as any other polychilus type Phalaenopsis. It does not depend on that drop in temperature in the autumn or winter to rebloom. The warmer or hotter, the better, but it really is sensitive to direct sunshine. So the rule of never put it in direct hot noon sun definitely applies. It can do very well in bright shade, but I do feel it really likes my grow lights, and it's quite close to them. So definitely it can handle higher amounts of light, just as long as the leaves are cool. When they overheat is when sunburn happens. I do find that it is quite a big root producer, and considering the size, I would imagine this orchid does produce quite a heavy root system. Those leaves are expensive, quote unquote. They require a lot of energy, so I feel like this orchid will produce a lot of roots. So be careful with the pot size. Don't go too small with the pot. Mine is already outgrowing her pot after about a year in the same pot, and I feel like I want to go directly to maybe an 18-centimeter pot. Yeah. But other than that, really, she's a joy. I fully recommend it to any Phalaenopsis lover. Typically, you will find it for sale at young ages, but just be patient. It is a slow grower, but it doesn't have to be very big to be blooming size. Mine is on its first bloom, and the leaves are about 35 centimeters in length. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video in the gigantea, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!